This is Nitin Dahad, and I'm at the Global Semiconductor Conference in Malta, and I've been attending the Silicon Catalyst and Malta Enterprise conference here with 2 days of quite good content, actually, if I may say so. And I'm talking to Sean Redmond, who leads Silicon Catalyst in the UK and I guess Europe as well. Sean, hello.
Hello Nitin, it's a pleasure to talk to you about Global Semiconductor Conference Malta.
First of all, let's start with the news. So you've launched today ChipStart EU.
Yes.
You already had ChipStart UK, and I think you gave me some figures. I think you gave some figures today about how much has been raised by companies in those cohorts. Now you're trying to repeat that model in the EU and set it up in Malta, is that right?
Exactly right. It's an early stage semiconductor incubator focused on reaching deep into the semiconductor research base across the EU and also in Malta.
Right.
So we are focusing on bringing those companies through to their first pre-seed investment. We've modeled it on the success of ChipStart UK.
Right.
So as the illustrious leader Moshe Gavrielov, who keynoted this conference, repeatedly tells me, it really is all about the results.
Yes.
And ChipStart UK has delivered on the results. The government-backed program, which was funded by the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology in the UK for early-stage semiconductor incubation, ChipStart UK, in its first cohort, has achieved 24 times what the UK government have funded in terms of private venture capital and angel investment delivered. £15 million.
Right.
£15 million, that's 18 million euros
Yes.
of VC and angel funding to the first cohort of 11 companies.
And that's just since 2023?
We started that program in 2023. That was a 9-month incubation program.
Right.
We've modeled ChipStart EU on that successful incubation process, but we've extended it to 1 year. So the program we're going to run from Malta, delivering incubation to EU-based early stage semiconductor startups, will be a 1-year incubation process.
Right, and I think, is that similar model, 8 to 10 companies coming through, or?
We will take 10 to 12 companies
10 to 12, okay.
through each cohort.
Okay.
The way the models work through the CHIPS joint undertaking is we're delivering the ChipStart EU from the Competence Centre funding, which CHIPS joint undertaking has provided. That's a 4-year period. We will deliver 4 cohorts of 10 to 12 companies for early stage semiconductor incubation.
Okay, so it's part of that Competence Centre funding, which then ChipStart EU is part of.
Yes.
Okay, that's why when you made the presentation, you talked about competence centres, so that's the superset of everything going on.
It is a superset.
Okay.
Superset where we've worked together as a consortium with Malta Enterprise, the University of Malta, MCAST, which is the technical university here in Malta, and MDIA, the Digital Innovation Authority of Malta, and partnering with ARM and with IMEC to build a competence centre for semiconductors from Malta's base. A base which is going back now 40 years in semiconductor experience with research from the universities, but a fundamental base of technology, which is where ST built the most advanced semiconductor packaging capability in the EU today.
Yes, yeah, I think we heard from ST as well about, I think 1,800 people they have here in the fab, and you know, we heard a lot about, and that leads us into the next thing about why Malta, and there was quite a discussion on that. I guess, you know, my takeaway was, you know, agility, can-do attitude, agility and can-do attitude, the vision of the leadership here in Malta.
Well, Malta is a unique place. It's a unique place geographically, so it is centered here in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. As you can see from the backdrop, it's a wonderful environment. So there's nothing not to like about Malta.
Yeah.
It's got a technology base. It has the ability to attract the right entrepreneurial teams to start businesses here. It's proven that because it has a very successful fintech and gaming tech base of startups. So they've got a process and a program where they've delivered and grown startup companies.
Was it 90s party gaming and the companies like that very successful?
Yeah, very much so. And so now the opportunity is to build a cluster for semiconductor startups from the island of Malta. Clearly, the CHIPS joint undertaking program is EU-wide. We're going to be bringing into the incubation process through competitive selection companies across the EU base, but our focus being here in Malta is to deliver the incubation from here, but attract companies and build companies in Malta as well. So
Malta and across the water in Morocco and all those places, I guess.
all of the semiconductor industry today is challenged by access to skills.
Yes.
Wherever you go, in EU, in the US, even in Taiwan, they cannot get access to enough skills. I think one of the unique opportunities for Malta, it's just off the North African coastline. There's a tremendous amount of semiconductor skills in Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt. Being able to collaborate with that base and utilize it, I think, is a unique opportunity.
Now that segues into the next question, which is what are your sort of key highlights from the conference? And today there was this big discussion on skills, and but I think we had some really powerful presentations, from Moshe, from Stan Boland, Malcolm Penn, but many more. So tell me your key highlights.
I think the success of a conference always really comes down to its content, semiconductor specific content, compelling content, projected with passion and energy. We were absolutely delighted to be able to attract to this conference, its first Global Semiconductor Conference Malta, first of many. We will be repeating this annually, but having a keynote speech from Moshe Gavrielov, who's on the board of TSMC, he's got a unique perspective that's sitting at the most advanced edge of the semiconductor industry. They deliver 92% of the most advanced chips in the world today, and he's able to project the value from his experience with TSMC and NXP on where this industry has come from, where it's going to, and where the opportunities are. And that's a unique perspective for the audience inside our Global Semiconductor Conference Malta. When you add to that the entrepreneurial brilliance of somebody like Stan Boland, who's serially successful. This is an individual that's 4 times over, hit the ball out of the park and generated incredible entrepreneurial success. So he's willing to share what's gone before, get up on the stage, project what it takes to build the next global semiconductor decacorn from the EU, from here in Malta.
And we did hear a lot about comparisons with Silicon Valley. You can't compare, but you can learn a lot from it. And all the speakers seem to talk about those comparisons and where we're good, where we're not. But really, I think it comes down to being more bold, having a greater vision, being good at marketing, and I guess just let the technologists do the technology, but sell the vision.
Absolutely. I mean, the key to the success of Silicon Catalyst and its ecosystem built over the last 10 years is exactly about bringing that ecosystem that exists in Silicon Valley to the startups. We're not taking the startups to the ecosystem.
Right.
We're bringing this ecosystem to the startups, wherever they want to base themselves, wherever they want to be in the EU, whether that's France, the Netherlands, Germany, Malta. The ecosystem will be wrapped around them where they want to build their business. And that ecosystem is completely modeled on that success from Silicon Valley. It's access to advice, it's access to in-kind value of, you need tools, you need IP, you need foundry, you need to have big customers, big potential partners to work with, strategic partners. But companies like ST and NXP and Bosch here in Europe will open doors and access startups to new ways of solving problems. But most importantly, you need investment. That's the oxygen that drives growth of semiconductor startups. They need more investment than other types of technology companies, and they're very specialist venture capital groups that invest in our space. So we need to bring those investors to our startups.
All right, and we'll be seeing more of you in Malta then, I guess.
Well, look at the backdrop. Who would not want to spend more time here? I was born in Malta, I was made in Malta. I absolutely love every moment I spend here, so this is just a joy.
So, I mean, that is actually, people might think that's a sort of insignificant point, but it's a significant point in that, I think somebody said in the conference today, Silicon Valley, everything's close, and you've got, if you want to enjoy yourself, you've got the environment. Same with Sophia Antipolis. Yeah, if you about a couple of decades ago, that was the south of France. Everybody wants to be in Nice. All the American investors, companies. So I think, do you see Malta being that next Sophia Antipolis?
Absolutely. I think when you having spent a few days here and experienced the culture, as I mentioned at the start, there's nothing not to like. Fantastic food, amazing wine, wonderful people, but 300 days of sunshine a year. I mean, please, this is quite a paradise.
Silicon Valley, here we come.
Exactly.
Well, Sean, thank you very much.
Nitin, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.